First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Welcome to Fox 12 Now, live look there at Mount Hood. And you can't quite see it, but there are some fires that are happening near Mount Hood right now. And that is because Oregon is in full wildfire swing, much like many other parts of the country. And that's part of what we're going to be discussing here today. And you just saw who my guest is going to be, because we're going to have an expert on to talk about this. We talked about it a couple of months ago, just before it really got going into it. But now that it's happening, we've probably seen the smoke. Depending on where you're at in the state, you may be dealing with it. There's been some evacuation notices that have been issued, at least previously in certain areas. So there's a lot to be aware of, and we're kind of feels like we're just getting started on this. But we're going to talk about all that right now with Jessica from the Oregon Department of Forestry. So good to have you back on here to talk about this, because you are the expert. You could tell us, at least what's going on, what's happening. We want to walk through some tips and tricks and different things. I don't know if tips and tricks is maybe the right word, but how to prevent starting more wildfires. Maybe that's just something we should be doing. So all of that's happening. But Jessica, thanks for being here. Can you talk to us about where we're at now compared to where we were a couple of months ago when you were here on the show?
Yeah, thank you for having me. So right now, as of, I believe it was last week, all ODF fire districts are in fire season right now, which means that there are fire regulations on all ODF protected land. That can vary depending on where you are in the state. So we do recommend, if you're going to travel or you're going to do anything that could potentially start a fire, check the public use restrictions on oregon.gov/ODF, just to make sure that you're being safe and helping prevent any large wildfires. And then also another place to look for those tips on wildfire prevention are keeporegongreen.org, which has a lot of different ways that Oregonians can help prevent large wildfires.
And how many fires, approximately, are there that are going on right now in the state of Oregon?
We have, give me one moment, because I
yeah, sorry, I know I kind of threw you on the spot. I also will say too, we have another, we have a tool here at Fox 12 Oregon too that I'm going to show people here in just a little bit as well during this. But I know there's, it seems like every day there's something else that's cropping up, that's starting up, where you hear one going, getting started.
Yeah, we have been seeing a lot more lately, and I want to correct myself. I don't have the actual number of active fires on hand right now, but I do have the number of fires that we've had year to date so far. So on ODF protected lands, we've had about 350 fires so far this year, and statewide we have had approximately 549 fires this year that have burned about 21,253 acres.
And we're only just really in the beginning of July, and that's already where we're
still very early in the season.
Something specifically that you just mentioned there that I wanted to talk to you about to clarify, because I was actually unaware of how this all works too. When we're talking about ODF, the Oregon Department of Forestry, but then there's federal lands, you have some of the different fires that are going on, like right now, I know a lot of people were talking about the Boulder Fire, which is up there kind of southeast of Mount Hood. But that one is not part of the Oregon Department of Forestry's coverage. Can you tell us how this all works?
Yes. So the Oregon Department of Forestry protects state land and then also private landowners' land. And then after that, it is usually federal land. So it's a lot of U.S. Forest Service, Bureau of Land Management, and other kind of little jurisdictions within that. And then within city areas, it's usually the local fire district's jurisdiction. And so we do support Oregon in a lot of different ways though as well. We help coordinate the complete and coordinated fire system within Oregon. So there's kind of it is a large coordinated system, and we definitely help our partners when needed. I know we have a few crews on the Boulder Fire that you just mentioned, and we're helping out our fellow firefighters any ways that we can.
And I think that makes sense when you explain it like that. But now looking at it, because we have the National Forest Land, and that's just a different department that's working that. But as you mentioned, you do all coordinate in some way, shape, or form.
Yes, because especially in certain areas similar to the Alder Creek Fire that's going on in Central Oregon. That one is actually quite close to ODF protected lands. And so we're keeping a close eye on it, and we're helping where needed. So because fire doesn't see these lines
Right.
that have been created. And so we want to help just as much as we can in any situation. If they need it, we're here to provide.
So this year, with, I think you said it was somewhere around 21,000 acres burned, is that, how does that compare to, I guess, years past? Is this a cause for concern, more concern than previous years, or is this kind of on par with what we've had?
It's about on par. I don't know. So for the ODF protected land, out of those 350 fires that I mentioned earlier, so the 21,000 is statewide right now. So the 350 for ODF, we have burned about 1,205 acres. And then the 10-year average for that number for the ODF protected lands is 18,574 acres burned. So we're doing fairly well, and we just want to keep that momentum going. We want to make sure that Oregonians don't become complacent when it comes to wildfire prevention, and we can keep that acres burned number as low as possible.
So with those fires that have happened so far, and I'm sure this may be a difficult thing to determine, but do we know how they have been starting? Is it lightning? Is it, people, negligence? Any kind of idea on that? And understanding that may be a difficult number to ascertain.
I don't have a number. I'm not quite sure on the number of like lightning versus human cause at this time. I've seen a mix of both. So it's definitely, it's not one or the other. And I can say that, 70% of fires that happen in Oregon are human caused. So the majority is usually human caused fires. And so we just try to keep that as low as possible. So that way, when a lightning storm does come through, our resources can focus on that instead of, a human caused fire that could have been avoided.
Something preventable, yeah. So let's go through some things people should be aware of when they're going out into the woods. It's nice weather. I like going camping myself, but there are a lot of things that you need to be aware of what you're doing in order to prevent fires, and some of them may not be as obvious as others. Can you tell us what some of those things are?
Yes. So first things first, like I said earlier, check those public use restrictions because it can vary depending on where you're going. That can vary. That can be, as simple as not smoking on ODF protected lands to putting a campfire in a designated area, to the time that you mow your lawn, depending on where you're at. And so we want to make sure people are very aware of those public use restrictions first. And then as you're traveling to go to recreate in our beautiful forests, then make sure that you're not going to pull over onto any dry grass. The heat from under your car or your exhaust can basically smolder from that grass underneath your car and potentially start a fire and also be dangerous for you as the driver. Also make sure that your car has been recently serviced and isn't throwing any sparks. What can happen is if there's a faulty part, it can throw a spark onto the side of the road and you don't even know it as you're driving along, but fires are starting, not immediately, but one good swift of wind could easily make that spark turn into a flame. So being aware just of your car and your surroundings is definitely very helpful. And again, when you're going camping, make sure to have your campfire in a designated zone and make sure that the fire remains pretty small and manageable. And then when you're done with the fire, drown it, stir it, drown it again, and stir it again until it is out cold.
And those fire restrictions, do they vary depending on where you're going? As far as when you're out camping, campfires, are they allowed anywhere right now, or is it pretty restricted?
I can't recall if they're not allowed anywhere, but they are being restricted in certain parts to be in a designated area. So that's kind of goes back to check your local restrictions first. So that depends usually on the landscape and the conditions of wherever you're going. And that's why I say it kind of varies, because Northwest Oregon is different from Central Oregon, which is different from Southwest Oregon, and they all vary in conditions and climate. And so it can definitely range.
But those tips that you just had, those are good for no matter where you are. Always,
No
always
matter
take
where
care of
you
that.
are, those are good tips to have. Watch your parking, watch your campfire, and check your local restrictions.
Yeah, I think getting the car serviced and being aware of that is something that probably people may not think about all the time. Just the fact that you could be throwing off a spark like that, it's not as simple as, people. I mean, there's people that throw like cigarettes out or whatever, but that's a whole different thing. But yeah, your car starting it just from that, that's a huge one. For the
Yeah, and like I
resources,
said, it doesn't happen right away.
yeah, so you may not even notice it. And all right, so very, very good one to be well aware of. And don't park in tall grass, I'm sure is also part of that.
Yes.
Not starting one. So for people who are looking for more resources, you mentioned it a couple of times, but I just want to remind them where they can go to find out more about what's going on, at least, what wildfires are happening, but also how to prevent and what's going on in certain different districts, since it does vary.
Yes. So for up-to-date fire information, I recommend following the Oregon Department of Forestry or your local Oregon Department of Forestry office's Facebook. And then also you can check your local restrictions on oregon.gov/ODF. And for more wildfire prevention tips, you can visit keeporegongreen.org.
One other question, if someone is out in the wilderness and they do see smoke coming from somewhere, where's the best place for them to report seeing that?
Good question. So we do recommend that if you do see smoke, you can report it to 911. You can call 911, say I see smoke, and we get all those dispatch as well.
Great. So they'll get it to the right place. So that's very good to know. All right. Well, Jessica, anything else you want to add for everybody out there?
Again, I just want to repeat, we all love Oregon. We all love our forests. Just don't become complacent this fire season and keep actively practicing wildfire prevention, and we can all have a great summer.
Fantastic. Jessica, thank you very much for being here with us. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So there we go, everyone. Finding out more information just about being safe. When you're going out there camping, when you're setting fires, or when you have a fire, don't start a fire. When you have a fire, be very, very careful about that. I did want to show everybody one other thing too. We do have this. This is at kptv.com. So this is our website right here, where you can actually pull up a whole map of some of the active fires that are going on in the area. I believe this covers ODF and federal lands. So as you can see, you can pull it up, find out more info about what's happening. As these spring up, this information's updated, so we can let you know how many acres have been burned or what's happening with those. A lot going on right there. Like there's the Tunnel 5 fire, 80% contained, 529 acres burned. But all that's a reference point you can go to at kptv.com. We've just got a link right there where you can see everything that's happened so far and get a really good scale of the map, because this goes nationally. That's a lot of fires going on. So let's prevent some of those from happening. All right. Well, anyway, we are tuning into Fox 12 now. Appreciate all of you joining us. Coming up here in just a minute, we're going to switch gears at 1:30 p.m. We're going to talk about independent filmmaking and a film festival that's going to be happening here in Portland. We've got two of the nominees for one film that are going to be joining us for the movie Cognitive. We're going to talk about independent filmmaking, talk about this festival here in Portland, and some more. So join us for that. So wherever you're watching, just come right back here at 1:30 p.m. I will talk to you then. For Fox 12 Now, I'm Greg Nebler.